Then we had a great conversation about what the qualifications would have to be for people on the rating board. Because someone's going to have to sit there and look at these things. I don't know, 6. What do you think, Bob? Oh, 6.2, whatever it is. Just fabulous. They said, okay, so the group got together and said, okay, there were a subset of the entire class. All right, they came up with their qualifications. First one out of their mouths was, all right, we thought about this. You need to be at least 21. Well, all these kids are 14. They go, 21! 21! And then, okay, 14. They backed down immediately because they wanted to be on the board. They had some ideas. It was actually fabulous to see. Digital citizenship. It is just here to stay, you guys. It is the larger crucible that needs to hold all of this stuff. But to get back to the 9 points, fluency, not just literacy. I won't spend any time on this except to tell you that fluency is just about to become the new hot button word. We're going to get sick of literacy, and then there is going to be a war of words among academics, among pundits, about what it means not to be digitally literate, but to be digitally fluent. And I may talk about that. But where I'm really headed is we need to harness both report and story. We need to embrace story as a way to package information. Again, when I use the word story, I have a feeling what happens is people say, oh, story. Gosh, you can feel someone pushing a Walt Disney chakra button, you know? Oh, stories are wonderful. Stories are wonderful. That's not what I'm talking about. I want you to see story as a highly efficient information container. There is no more efficient way to contain lots of information than to put it in a story as a container that has all those internal connections that actually make it possible for you to remember a lot of information. This is contrasted with a list of information. Karen and Egan wrote a great book called Teaching and Storytelling. Marvelous book, short, compact, dense read. I highly recommend it. And in it he says, our kids come to school well-versed in the story format. Tension, resolution, personal transformation, struggle to get from here to here. Something's trying to stop you. All those things that when we look at stories that we like, whether it's movies or TV shows or books that we read, when we look at those, we say those are the elements that really made us lean forward in our chair and want to know what was going to happen next. They come to school, and the information container, the metaphor that they get is the list. This, and then this, and then this, and then this. And so often when kids say, I'm bored, or this is too hard, you know what they're really saying? Where's the story? There's no story here. That is the information container that they're used to. They're used to information being presented to them in a way that makes them lean forward in their chairs and makes them ask themselves, so, what's going to happen next? And lists don't make you do that. I do a lot of green screen storytelling, or I used to, until iMovie 9 came along. Oh, don't get me started. Anyway, here is Hannah Davis. She's a Clinton native from Southeast Alaska. She is performing an original story in front of a wall that we painted green. No big deal. I'm known as low budget Jason. You really don't need a budget to do any of this stuff anymore. Then she made her own artwork and put that behind her, and you get that. And so CDs come out, DVDs come out with kids performing, and they went through a training process to be able to perform an original story in front of original artwork. Her mother told me that she used to come home from school and watch TV, and for a month after this program was concluded, she'd come home and pop in the DVD and watch it herself and all of the things, performing one songs. Anytime they don't watch television is a win. I don't really care what the reason is. Unless maybe they're sick or something, that's not good. But anything short of that is just a win. The other kind of digital storytelling, or new media narrative, as I prefer to call it, I use a lot of voiceover narration. So you're a la Ken Burns. You're hearing the voice and you're seeing still images, maybe you're seeing some video, much, much easier to produce. So all you need is the laptops that you have with your program, and a little white space here and there, and it works just fine. Here are the things that scare people away from trying to do media. It costs too much. No, it doesn't. It just, I mean, if you've got a couple $100, I'll spend it for you. Probably going to ask you to get some headsets, those kinds of things. But honest to God, if you've got a Macintosh laptop that have been developed in the last 5 years, and you've got iMovie, you've got everything you need. You really don't need anything beyond that, because it's all about the story. It really doesn't have a whole lot to do with the gear to me anymore. The gear's the easy part. Another reason people don't want to do it is what I call the rule of 80-20. For some unknown reason, teachers feel that media needs to be perfect, that it might show up on HBO somehow, and people will see all your mistakes. And God, that's a nuts kind of thing. So let's say that right there, that line right there, represents an HBO-ready piece of polished media. The reality is, to get 80% of the way through, that's basically your rough draft to the point where it's looking pretty good, it takes about 20% of your time and energy. Well, my God, what are you doing with the other 80% of your time to affect that last 20%? You know what you're doing? You're tweaking. Friday night, you get this idea. You know, his hands up, I'd like it to move a little bit. Wouldn't that be cool? It'd be so cool. Sunday afternoon, your kids are shoving food under the door. Dad, are you going to come? I'm almost there! You know that. You guys, you're in the techno world. You know what that's like. You can just sense what you can do with that tool. If I just put in another 6 hours, I just know I can get there. You know what I say? Forget the last 20%. I just said 80% of the time, and stop letting the perfect be the enemy. Good is good, and good is just fine. And one day, school boards all across America will wake up and go, what do you mean you don't have kids making digital stories? You call yourselves teachers? You know, I mean, it's going to happen. You know, they'll blame us. We've been sitting here jumping up and down for 20 years, right? But it will happen. And at that point, we can raise the professional bar in terms of production. But as long as the story's good and they are doing as well as they can within the production constraints that they have, I'm fine with that. So some of the stuff that you'll see me show, you'll hear people talking in the background, you know, a phone ring. We can't care about that right now, you guys. It's really all about the story. Teachers are more important than they have ever been. Leave the clicks and the tricks to the kids with time. Deputize. Be the guy down the side, not the technician magician. I don't need to tell you this, but I actually still hear this. Okay, I got a new scanner. I don't want anybody using it unless I'm there. You know, you just think, oh my God, you're going down. No free labor when you see it. You know? Hey, Bobby, you know how to use a scanner, don't you? And that's B-O-B-B-I, gender neutral, Bobby. Bobby, yeah, I know. Okay, I'm going to sit and give you a ball cap, okay, and you're going to be Captain Scanner, okay? Who knows how to use digital cameras? Who knows how to use GarageBand? And you get in there and you organize that talent. Whenever I'm doing a media project with kids, it's my job to stand back and have nothing to do. They're teaching each other, they're doing that. Eruption over here. Fix that, and I step back, and I'm doing that all day long. But I'm doing very little direct instruction after a certain point. It's up to us to set standards, provide meaningful assessment and feedback, open doors, and create those learning communities. You do not need to be an advanced user of the technology. You do not need to be an advanced user of the technology. Look at it this way. You go and you watch a movie, you come home, you sit around the kitchen table, and you say, I don't know, that movie, the special effects were way over. The plot wasn't very good. The acting wasn't very good. I didn't understand this. That wasn't clear right there. Exactly. And you're not producers and you're not directors. That's the kind of feedback you need to be able to give your students. And you do that just by being an aware human being who has some sense of what good narrative sounds like and looks like. Because otherwise, what you'll do is what most teachers do, and I see it all the time, I'm sure not you, but God, I see it all the time, is give an A for anything that lives on the street. You see it all the time. You see teachers walk up to a computer terminal where there's something moving. They walk up with the big wide eyes, give the student an A, and that wave. And I know what's going on in their minds. I don't know how to do that. How can I give them anything less than an A? I don't know how to do that. Baloney. If it doesn't make sense, if it's not good, you say, you know what, that doesn't make sense and it's not good. And here are my standards that you need to meet. Whenever I do media with kids, I never, ever give up executive producer status. Ever, ever, ever. I really recommend you never give it up yourself. That gives you the right at any point to say, that's not good enough. That's not clear enough. I don't understand why you're talking about a dog and I'm seeing a picture of a cat. We'll go over that stuff in very specifically in terms of rubrics and so on tomorrow. But that really is our job, to make sure that they express themselves really clearly. And if you capture everything that they create on the way to their finished piece of media, if you capture everything, however you do it, whether it's a website or it's a notebook or whatever it is you do, it's basically a portfolio unto itself. It really is. And so don't just evaluate what's moving on the screen. Evaluate all of it. Okay. I'm going to tell you a quick story, and we're going to look at some stories. I figured that if I really believed, as I do, in my heart of hearts, that the meta message of the digital age is that finally everyone gets to tell their own story in their own way. I just so truly and utterly believe that. Then I felt like I shouldn't write another tome. I should write a novel, a story. So I wrote a novel called Then What? It's done much better than I ever thought it would do. You know what a tome is, right? That's what university professors write for other university professors. So then go to a cocktail party and say, hey, I saw your book. I'm not going to buy it. No, don't give me one. I'm not going to read it. But good luck with tenure and promotion. It's a strange world, ladies and gentlemen.